Ever since Sony and Microsoft swapped games with Helldivers 2 going on Xbox and now Gears of War coming on PlayStation, I've been trying to figure out which side got the better deal. And now that I have finally completed a Gears of War game, I can say, yeah, I definitely think Microsoft got the better deal. Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here, D3 Topics Gaming, here to share a few of my official game review for Gears of War Reloaded, which is apparently the very first Gears of War game, but it might have been like remastered or something, or just re-released, but it's finally now on PlayStation. And now I've actually managed to complete this game. Now, funny enough, I actually did try to play this game 10 years ago, the first and only time I actually bought a Xbox to play a Gears game, and here were my thoughts back then 10 years ago.
And for some reason, I can't get through this game. I'm about halfway through and just something is wrong. Something is wrong with this game.
Yeah, and sadly, I have to confirm that even though I couldn't beat it back then, I've now beaten it now. My opinion sadly hasn't really changed all that much. Now, if you do happen to somewhat enjoy my review by the end, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe, keep track of me on all my future reviews. And remember, if any of you guys have any ideas for any rankings or discussions that you would like me to do in the future, please let me know what you'd like me to talk about or do. I will be sure to work on it, and just make sure you type your ideas in the comments down below, and I will try to get it up to you as soon as I can. So, Gears of War Reloaded. I think a lot of people are happy that it's now on PlayStation, but personally, I really just didn't have the greatest time. Now, I'm going to try to separate my review into the specific sections of, story and then gameplay and then just overall thoughts. But I think that if you weren't already a Gears fan, I'm not sure if playing Reloaded will actually make you a Gears fan, because it really didn't work too well for me. Now, starting off with the story, the story I felt was kind of mid. It wasn't very strong, and I know that there's some fans of Gears that'll say that, well, the story is very, very simple and it's not all that interesting, but like the future games after that are much better. And that could be the case, but I just didn't think that the story for Gears of War Reloaded was strong enough to the fact that I'm actually interested in finding out what happens next in the next Gears game, or what happens in the next chapter of this conflict story. It felt, for some reason, I don't know why, but this was just me. I couldn't have been the only person who felt this way, but this game felt very reminiscent of Resistance: Fall of Man. And strangely enough, both of these games came out the same year in 2006. So I did think that was a strange coincidence, because you're dealing with an enemy that lives and operates underground, that attacks the surface and has completely destroyed the majority of mass human cities, and you're fighting as a soldier in a conflict against them. The story kind of like breaks Marcus Phoenix out of jail, and then he joins some soldiers, and then you have to get some sort of device, and then you have to go underground in order to map out the tunnels of the Locust Horde, and then something else happens, and then you end up the story for me was just kind of very forgettable. And what's worse is that most of the characters, if not all of them, were forgettable outside of Marcus Phoenix. I literally cannot remember the name of any character outside of Marcus Phoenix. And even Marcus Phoenix kind of felt kind of like your typical generic tough guy soldier. I mean, I'm sure he has some depth, and I'm sure he certainly has an interesting backstory, but just from how he was represented in this game, he really wasn't all that impressive to me. And on top of that, the fact that there was really no primary antagonist didn't help. I mean, I guess the Locust Horde as a whole is the whole thing, and I guess in Resistance, there wasn't really an overall central antagonist. It was just more focusing on the conflict. But I just think that how this and Resistance presented its story of the conflict, I certainly was a bigger fan of how Resistance did it than what they did with Gears. Now, when it came to its gameplay, this was a game that came out 20 years ago, so I'm not gonna hit it too hard for its kind of outdated gameplay mechanics. But to its core, this is a very, very basic cover-based shooter that can be played with a friend. I did appreciate that very, very much. The cover base was fine. The actions responses was fine. My biggest issue that I had was the partner AI. Now, a lot of people like to crap all over Sheva's AI in Resident Evil 5, but this one was way, way worse. Most of my early deaths in this game happened because my computer AI would just kind of walk to the end of the map by itself and get himself killed. And that's what which would force me to restart to the checkpoint. Now, there's supposed to be a function that allows you to give your teammates commands, whether you want them to attack or to regroup. And I'm telling you, I don't know if it was just my game or if there was some sort of glitch, but no matter what command I gave my AI partner, he would not listen at all. And I found that very, very frustrating. And that was kind of proof to me that this game was very, very much better. It should have been played better if you're playing with another person. Now, one thing I did notice, and I don't know if this is how it is, if there's a way to fix this, but if you try to set up a match, it doesn't give you it doesn't give you sessions that you can join like another player online or have them join your session. I think it's only if you can find a friend and then you can play together. And unfortunately, I didn't have any friends to play with. Like, that's the one type of gameplay I was not really able to experience. But there's definitely a number of points in this game where having a second player would have been better. Like, there's a section where you're driving on this freeway in this vehicle and you're having to contend with these kind of like swarm bat things, and you have to hit them with this UV lamp. It would have been so much easier for me to just have a person take control of the gun while I'm driving than me having to switch between driving and shooting. That definitely got annoying. And there was another section where we're dealing with this berserker, and we pretty much have to play Toro and trick them into charging in a certain direction in order to knock out a wall. That certainly would have been a hell of a lot easier with another person. And there were several sections that would have been a lot more enjoyable if I was playing with a competent partner. And that just wasn't the case. That really, really ruined my experience. Another thing that I also think is kind of lacking in this game is the lack variety of guns. There are only about 6 standard guns that you have access to in this game. You've got 2 assault rifles, the Lancer, and like a semi-automatic version that is primarily used by the Locust, a shotgun, a bolt-action rifle, a kind of blowgun that fires only 3 shots, and then one that kind of acts like a bow and arrow. Now, the pistols are there, so it's kind of like 9 guns, but really you're going to use the primary 6. And over the course of this entire game, I only focused on using 2 guns the entire time, and that was the Lancer and the sniper rifle, the bolt-action rifle. Now, there was this one kind of like satellite gun called like the Fist of Dawn, but you could only use like in specific sections. It wasn't something that you could keep with you. So that was a little bit disappointing. Another thing that I wasn't a big fan of was some of the aesthetics in terms of the map layout. Some of them were fine, some of them weren't. And overall, it just kind of felt very, very average. I think the music was fine. It wasn't too special. That was there. Some of the visuals, it's an upgraded version of what they had from 2006, so that was actually an improvement. But another factor that I really was not a fan of at all was multiplayer. Now, I know that most people played Gears for multiplayer, and that's perfectly fine, but as someone who's always a story-driven gamer, the fact that this game's story, in my opinion, wasn't very strong didn't really help. So when I actually went into multiplayer and spent about 30 minutes playing it, I really just did not have a fun time. And trust me, it's not even so much that I'm not a big multiplayer person, because there have been several games I have played that if the story is good enough and the multiplayer is fun, I can enjoy the multiplayer even though I'm not a big multiplayer person. But this game's multiplayer, I think, is going to work for a lot of people. It wasn't for me. I really did not have a fun time playing this multiplayer. And there's a couple of little extras and a couple of like little like hidden treasures that you can find that kind of gives you kind of little bio information on certain characters and certain events. And I thought that was nice that it was there. But overall, my first time actually managing to complete a Gears game just wasn't overall all that fun. So if I had to give Gears of War Reloaded a ranking, I would probably give it like a 6 out of 10. I mean, it's not a bad game, but I'm just saying the story was kind of lacking. I really wish there was a way that it could actually allow you to play with another player. If it had that function where I could play with anybody online and just join a match and play with them, I probably would have bumped this up to like a 7.5. But the fact that you can't do that and you can only do co-op, if you're playing with like a friend of yours that has a copy, I think really discouraged me and really just made my playthrough of this game for the first time in 10 years not very enjoyable. So that is my review of Gears of War Reloaded. I would like to know, what did you think? For those of you who are actually playing this for the first time, did you have a great time with the game or not? Share your thoughts with me and everyone else in the comments down below. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll catch you guys next time.